The exploration vessel's silent cartographer slipped out of folded space at the edge of an uncharted system, its sensors blooming open like cautious eyes. The crew were not soldiers or conquerors. They were catalogers, archivists, and xenogeologists tasked with mapping dead systems and forgotten worlds. When the long-range scans resolved, silence filled the bridge as the data painted an impossible picture. At the heart of the system orbited a planet-rated Class III Deathworld, with gravity spikes, tectonic instability, extreme weather cycles, and biosignatures dense enough to drown standard sensors. Class III Deathworlds were not merely hostile, they were statistically unsurvivable. Civilizations avoided them, probes failed within days, and even automated platforms rarely endured more than a single orbital cycle. Yet orbiting this nightmare planet was something even more unlikely. A vessel. Not debris, not a derelict hulk, but a fully powered class vessel, its energy signature clean and stable. The identification algorithms struggled before returning a designation that caused several crew members to recheck their displays. Crew species, human. Captain Ayash felt her secondary heart slow as she leaned forward, mandibles flexing in disbelief. Humans were known, of course, but only as a young interstellar species, recently uplifted to exploratory status and still considered biologically fragile by galactic standards. They were not Deathworlders, not officially. The ship's orbit was precise, intentional, and long-term, suggesting habitation rather than a passing survey. As the silent cartographer eased closer, more data streamed in. The vessel showed signs of prolonged exposure to extreme radiation, micrometeor impacts, and electromagnetic storms that would have shredded most known hull alloys. Yet it endured. Ayash authorized a passive hail, expecting static or silence. Instead, a calm signal returned almost instantly. Unknown explorers, you are approaching human research vessel Perseverance. Please state your intent. The translation software confirmed the tone as polite, curious, and entirely unafraid. The bridge crew exchanged glances filled with unease and fascination. Humans were not supposed to sound comfortable in a place like this. Captain Ayash responded with formal diplomatic phrasing, identifying the silent cartographer as a neutral exploration craft. There was a brief pause before the human reply arrived. Welcome to the system. You are clear to maintain orbit. Please avoid descending below the ionized cloud layer without hardened shielding. The warning was delivered casually, as though advising against mild turbulence rather than planetary annihilation. As communications stabilized, visual feeds were exchanged. The human bridge appeared compact, utilitarian, and worn, with scarring along the bulkheads that spoke of repeated impacts and repairs. The crew themselves were visibly varied, some tall, some compact, some bearing scars, others moving with relaxed confidence. No environmental suits were visible. Ayash noted the oxygen levels displayed on the human ship matched baseline galactic standards, despite the planet below venting toxic plumes into orbit. When asked how long the Perseverance had been stationed in the system, the human captain smiled. Just over 30 local years. A stunned silence followed. 30 years in orbit of a Class III Deathworld was unthinkable. Further inquiry revealed something even more unsettling. The humans were not merely studying the planet. They lived there. Surface installations dotted the planet's equatorial and polar regions, shielded cities anchored into bedrock, mobile habitats that migrated with tectonic drift, and orbital elevators that dipped into storms strong enough to tear moons apart. To the human crew, this was not madness. This was home. Against every protocol, Captain Ayash accepted an invitation to observe the planet from a stabilized orbital platform. As the silent cartographer descended into a higher orbit, the true nature of the Deathworld revealed itself. Vast superstorms churned endlessly, continents split and reformed over decades, oceans boiled and froze in violent cycles, and megafauna moved beneath the clouds like living tectonic plates. Sensors screamed warnings constantly, forcing the exploration vessel to divert power to shields simply to remain intact. Meanwhile, human installations functioned with stubborn persistence. Cities flexed with planetary stress, buildings designed to sway, compress, and reform. Agricultural zones existed within reinforced caverns, hydroponics fed by geothermal energy and chemical filtration systems. Human voices filled the shared channel, explaining systems and redundancies with evident pride. "This planet tried to kill us in the first year," one engineer remarked lightly. "So we taught it to try harder." Ayush realized with dawning clarity that humans did not merely survive hostile environments. They adapted aggressively. The Deathworld rating system assumed biological limits based on known species. Humans did not fit those assumptions. Where others saw lethal instability, humans saw challenge. Where others retreated, humans reinforced, modified, and endured. The explorers watched as a surface storm obliterated an unshielded probe in seconds, while nearby a human city sealed, redistributed power, and resumed normal operations within minutes. To the galaxy, this world was death. To humans, it was difficult real estate. During extended talks, Captain Ayush finally asked the question that had haunted her since arrival. Why establish a class vessel here? Human classification systems differed, but a class vessel implied long-term occupation, cultural investment, and strategic permanence. The human captain's expression softened. "Because worlds like this are honest," he replied. "They don't pretend to be safe. They don't lull you into complacency. Every day you wake up knowing survival is earned." He explained that humanity originated on a planet already considered a borderline death world by galactic metrics, with unstable weather, seismic activity, predators, and microbial threats. Their history was one of constant adaptation, disaster response, and rebuilding. This planet was worse, yes, but it was also familiar in spirit. Humans had not conquered it. They had negotiated with it. The class vessel served as a hub, a promise that humans would stay, learn, and coexist with the chaos rather than flee from it. For the explorers, this redefined everything they thought they knew about survivability and civilization. If humans could thrive here, what other assumptions were flawed? What other impossible places were merely waiting for the right species? When the silent cartographer finally departed the system, its data stores were overflowing with revelations. Captain Ayush spent weeks compiling the official report, knowing every word would be scrutinized by the highest councils. The final classification was unprecedented. Class III Deathworld, permanently inhabited. Class vessel, active. Crew species, human, entirely human. But the most important addition was not a statistic. It was a warning. Human survivability metrics exceed established galactic models. Extreme environments do not deter them, they attract them. Any future exploration or colonization efforts involving humans must account for their unique relationship with danger. As the report spread, fear and awe rippled through the stars. Not because humans were violent or hostile, but because they were comfortable where others could not exist at all. On a world that should have been silent, humanity had built a future. And they were smiling while doing it. The galactic response did not arrive as fleets or threats, but as silence. For several cycles, after Captain Ayush's report propagated through relay space, no official statements were issued, no councils convened publicly, and no sanctions were announced. This unsettled observers far more than outrage would have. Silence in the galactic sense meant recalculation. In private chambers across 1,000 species, analysts replayed the data streams from the Class-III Deathworld. They watched storms peel mountains into dust, tectonic plates grind like exposed bones, and predators larger than cities hunt across molten plains. Then they watched humans walk through reinforced corridors, drink recycled water distilled from poisoned seas, and laugh while discussing repair schedules. The footage broke several long-held axioms of xenosociology. Survival was not merely a function of environment. It was a function of mindset. Soon, delegations began to arrive. Not warships, but observers. They came cloaked in shielding and caution, holding to distant orbits where even passive scans strained their instruments. The humans welcomed them without ceremony, assigning orbital windows and transmission channels with practiced efficiency. They did not posture or boast. They simply continued living. One delegation requested permission to deploy autonomous probes closer to the surface. The human response was immediate. Approved, but expect total probe loss within 12 minutes unless reinforced beyond standard specifications. The probes lasted 9. The humans recorded the data anyway, adding it to their archives without comment. Another delegation asked the question many had avoided. Why remain here when you could choose safer systems? The human reply came from a geologist standing before a live feed of a collapsing canyon. Because safe systems teach you nothing. This statement echoed through the councils like a gravitational wave. Entire civilizations had been built around the avoidance of risk. Trade routes curved around unstable stars. Colonies were abandoned at the first sign of planetary hostility. Safety was the foundation of progress. Or so they believed. Human history, once examined more closely, told a different story. Their archives revealed millennia of survival against famine, plague, ice ages, heat waves, asteroid impacts, and self-inflicted catastrophes. Again and again, humans failed. And again, they adapted. Their technology was not elegant, but resilient. Their cities were not static, but flexible. Their psychology did not seek comfort, but meaning. On the Deathworld, this philosophy manifested in extraordinary ways. Human children were raised in shielded habitats that simulated controlled levels of environmental stress. Not to endanger them, but to teach respect for their surroundings. Education included evacuation drills for planetary-scale disasters, personal responsibility training, and cooperative problem-solving under pressure. Fear was not eliminated. It was managed. A visiting xenopsychologist observed a group of humans repairing an exterior platform during an electromagnetic storm. She noted elevated heart rates, rapid decision-making, and stress responses that would incapacitate most species. Yet the humans functioned with precision, communicating clearly, even joking. When asked why they did not wait for the storm to pass, the lead technician replied, "If we wait, the storm gets a vote." This attitude unsettled the galaxy more than any weapon ever could. Humans did not seek dominance. They sought agency. Eventually, the councils issued a revised classification. The Deathworld was Ray-labeled. Class-III Deathworld Human Adapted. This designation carried implications far beyond taxonomy. It acknowledged that environmental lethality was no longer an absolute measure. It was conditional. Trade guilds began approaching human representatives with cautious proposals. They asked whether humans would consider establishing research outposts on other high-risk worlds. Radiation-scorched planets, collapsing neutron star orbits, rogue systems abandoned by previous expeditions. The humans did not say yes immediately. They asked for data. They asked for autonomy. They asked for time. When the first joint project was approved, it was on a world previously classified as entirely uninhabitable. Human engineers arrived, surveyed the ruins of failed alien installations, and began construction within weeks. They did not promise success. They promised effort. Captain Aish observed these developments from afar, her report now cited in thousands of academic and strategic analyses. She reflected on her first encounter with the Perseverance, on the calm human voice warning her about ionized cloud layers as though discussing weather. She understood now that humanity's greatest difference was not strength or technology. It was their relationship with inevitability. Where others saw death as a boundary, humans saw it as a parameter. On the Class-III Deathworld, the sun rose through layers of ash and storm. Human cities adjusted their shields, rerouted power, and began another day. Somewhere in the depths of the planet, tectonic stress built toward another catastrophic shift. Sensors detected it, alarms prepared to sound, contingency plans updated themselves automatically. And humanity waited, not with dread, but with readiness. Because for humans, survival was not about finding a safe place in the universe. It was about making a place survivable. And the galaxy, watching from a respectful distance, finally understood that deathworlds were not warnings. They were invitations.